Okay, cool. So this is my old 335. I put a Bigsby on it. Dang it. I got this guitar. I've told this story on the channel, but it's worth repeating. I got this guitar off of eBay. It had a lot of issues. I got it for really cheap, and I don't want to anger all of you, so I won't repeat what I paid for it. But it had some issues. It had a dead neck pickup. It had a wiring harness that was messed up. And so I just wasn't too precious about my old 335. This is a 1982. So I would still consider it a vintage guitar, even if it's not like golden era vintage. Well, like the first thing that I did after fixing the neck pickup and putting an entire new wiring harness in it, I bought one of those pre-wired harnesses. I think it was from like Dr. Vintage or something like that. And I tied a piece of thread to each of the pots. I tied a piece of thread to the input jack and to the pickup selector, and I threaded each thread through its respective hole and pulled the entire harness into place with all these pieces of thread through the bridge pickup cavity, which is how you're supposed to do those things, right? The other thing that was super cool about the Dr. Vintage wiring harness system, I think it came like this, or I cut leads. I don't remember. I'm going to give him the credit because I don't know. Hey, I want to take a couple seconds and tell you about something I'm going to give away for free through this channel that I think you are really going to like and get a lot of mileage out of. We're going to discuss 5 sounds that every guitar player needs to have an absolute mastery of. From tremolo, how to use all the different wave shapes and kinds of tremolo, speed and depth considerations, reverb, spring versus plate versus big ambient pad reverb. What are the considerations there? We're going to talk about delay, a good slapback, a good solo enhancing delay, rhythmic delays, and then you can do some sort of bed type stuff too, where it's not quite a reverb, it's not quite a delay, it almost sounds like something in between and functions as both, kind of. And we'll talk about overdrives. We'll talk about how to dial in good sounds with pedals so that you don't just hear pedal. That's a big pet peeve of mine. I hear a lot of guitar players step on an overdrive pedal and then all I hear is pedal. I don't hear the amp, I don't hear the guitar as much. I hear that compressed, solid state, expensive clipping thing of the pedal, you know. And then we'll talk about EQ and how this is the most slept on pedal of all time for all guitar players. It's second only in importance to my tuner. So look for that. It'll be free on the channel for a limited time. There were pickup extensions coming off of the pots so that you could connect your bridge pickup right here. You could solder the end of its wire right here, and you could solder your neck pickup in. So it made it really easy to change pickups. I changed pickups tons of times and landed on these Tom Holmes pickups, which are amazing. So yeah, I put a Bigsby on my 335, and I just want to talk about the differences. I feel like, in a nutshell, a stoptail piece 335 with the tune-o-matic, you know, the 2-piece. You can see where mine used to be, right there. They lean a little bit more toward a Les Paul. A little more immediate, more solid feeling and sounding. When you put a Bigsby on it, it tends to emphasize the semi-hollow nature of the guitar. So I feel like this guitar, I mean, it's still going to be great for like... The other thing is, when you put a Bigsby on a 335, you're going to have to train yourself to leave it alone, at least every once in a while. It's like the thing you want to grab all the time. I kind of got used to just playing the vibrato with the chords with my left hand, and even with moving the neck, you know? So I picked up the guitar, it was in drop D. I'll tune up here. So many cool things you can do with a Bigsby. So, should you do it to your 335? If you're not too precious about it, it's pretty cool. And you might want to go back and forth with it like I have. I had the Bigsby off for the last, like, I don't know, 5 or 6 years. And I was searching for something in my parts drawer, and I saw it, and I thought, I just haven't put that on in a while. Let's see. So this is a B7, all right? It's made for, I think, for solid body Gibsons. It has a plate on the back where your strap peg screw goes through it, and then you've also got 2 other screws. And I don't remember, there's at the time when I bought this, there were 2 different B7s. One was made in America and one was made overseas. And the American made one had 4 extra screw holes aside from your strap peg. And your strap peg kind of went in this big gap in that plate. And then I think I got the overseas one because it was cheaper and I was broke. It's a solid plate and the strap peg goes through it and kind of mounts to it. I put a couple extra washers there just because the screw that they give you is uncomfortably long. Like it feels like if you don't get the angle just perfectly straight, then you're going to come out the top or the back of the guitar. The dang screw is so long. So I have less of the screw in the body than you would if I didn't have these 2 washers. And then also, basically what I use the washers to do, I don't know if you can see this, it's kind of hard to see. I wanted it to be flush with this part of the plate. I didn't want either one of those taking the brunt of the weight of the guitar if I set it down too hard or something by itself. Just my thought process. Don't know if that's right or wrong. I think what makes a Bigsby work so well on a 335 versus like a Les Paul is all this space. You have so much space, and it kind of helps this angle here. If you put a B7 on a Les Paul, this bar is right behind the bridge. And so your strings come to the bridge and then they go whoop. And I'll tell you, I think that's why people with Bigsbys on their Les Pauls have so many tuning issues, because you're putting so much more friction on the string at the saddle when you move the bar, that it gives it more of an opportunity to hang up on any spot that it could hang up. And your wound strings are especially susceptible to that. So I think all this extra space here between the bridge and the tension bar, I think that's what this is called, the tension bar of the Bigsby, really, really help. Now, you can still do some of those cool compound bends with a Bigsby on. It doesn't give you the problems that like a Strat does, you know, where I do feel like I need to check my tuning a lot more with the Bigsby. And these are pretty fresh strings. I guess that's another point. It takes a little longer for them to settle. When you put a Bigsby on and you get your strings, you really get them seated. I always yank on them a few times, retune. One thing that helps with the Bigsby when you're putting them on is taking a pair of needle nose pliers kind of near the ball end and just bending the string so that when you come under the tension bar and around the bar where you mount the screws, the string's kind of already in shape for you to fit there, and then you can pull. And you got to keep tension on it all the way until you start getting your wraps done. So it's a little bit more of a pain to restring, but really not that much. And then I'm real OCD. I want to keep those strings coming over that bar all straight. So I just moved the B string, so I'm sure it's going to be, whew. this was my main touring guitar with the Bigsby for a year at least. With the last artist I toured with was David Nail, was his name. Unbelievable singer, great band. He let us play whatever we wanted. We were creatively invested in the music, in the show. That's a little bit different than your average touring country band. Most acts, they want you to play the exact part from the record. We're trying to recreate what the people love hearing on the radio live. Like, it's been like that since Alan Jackson or before, right? Well, with David, he just wanted to do something different, you know? And I'm not saying one is better than the other, but it was more interesting to the players. Like, I took a pay cut to take that gig. And I think that's why we kind of became the band that everybody else wanted to watch, if that makes sense. Like, people, when we were playing a big festival, the other bands after sound check or whatever, if they weren't off doing something else, like on a shuttle to the hotel to take showers to get ready for the show, a lot of them would sit and watch our set because it was interesting. We would go for things. We would take chances and do things different night to night. And I don't know, it was really cool. But this was my main guitar, and I just stayed on top of the tuning, you know? Once your strings settle, it's really not that much worse. But it will expose issues if you've got them on a guitar. Like, if you kind of have some tuning issues on your 335 and you put a Bigsby on it, it might be a little bit worse, especially if those tuning issues are coming from your saddles, because you're changing all of this whole angle and everything, and how you're using the bar to pull the strings a little bit, put more tension on them or reduce tension on them across the saddles. That can have bigger consequences, right, than when you're playing with a stoptail. So the thing that I did to mount the Bigsby was that I got the tailpiece lined up with this strap peg, right? And I guess that's why I really like the one that has the solid plate that folds over instead of the one with 4 little screws that go around the strap hole, because it really helps you line it up. You get that set, and then what I did was install the 2 E strings and tune them up to pitch before I started drilling for these holes. Yeah, you're gonna have to drill into your guitar. A word about the non-drill Bigsby solutions. I used a Vibramate plate for a Bigsby B5 on an SG one time. It was pretty cool, but again, man, when you're so close, when the unit is so close to the bridge, I just think you have more severe angles. There's more pressure. Just seemed like I had to be real delicate on the Bigsby to use it at all. And with this one, I can get away with, you know. Yeah, these strings just are not settled. I just put them on. You can even hear when I'm tuning acoustically. It's got that real bright new D'Addario snap. I love D'Addarios when they get rid of that. I don't love the way they sound when I first put them on the guitar. Some people really do. They love the extra brightness and articulation. I like them after that. And then they last as long as they do for me until they start not being able to intonate. And I've got a video about that. How to tell you need to change strings if you don't gunk them up, right? So check that out. But you can line it up by stringing it up and having the peg installed on the end to hold the Bigsby in place. Then you can drill your 2 holes. And I really like, it was one of those measure 3 or 4 times, drill once, right? You don't want to have multiple holes underneath, like if your Bigsby's kind of pointed off this way or pointed off that way. There's just one thing holding it here. It's you know, it's a little bit loose on the buckle right here where it folds over, and you can eyeball it. I mean, it's not like you got to get a little digital, your calipers out or something, you know. But I think it's great. It's really cool. If you want to emphasize the semi-hollow nature of your 335, try a Bigsby. It's really great. If you don't, then if you like your 335 having a little bit of that Les Paul, it's like a Les Paul without all the mahogany, you know. That's what I think. That's what I think a 335 with a stop tail sounds like, and they're fantastic. Don't get me wrong. But having this back on the guitar, I'm really enjoying it. I've been carrying it around to sessions, and I used it with John Daly today, and it was super cool. It's just a little more airy, and I have a little more, you know, I can add a little emotive, nice and controlled if I want. So anyway, you should try it. If you do, B7. I've had 10s and 11s with the Bigsby. I'm just really comfortable on 10s now. I liked 11s when I was newer at slide playing, because it gave me a little bit of extra pushback, so I wasn't fretting notes out with the slide or whatever, because I play with really low action. But yeah. Listen to the playing at the beginning of this video, and then check out some of my, like there's 2 of my last 4 or 5 videos have this guitar with the same rig, same pedal board. I've got a little bit of box of rock on, and some of that, got some of that reverb pedal, the Boss Fender 63 spring. And then, oh, that's not on actually, I turned it off. I never play sitting like that. I have some slap back. So here's nothing. Little reverb. Box of rock. Slap back. Really cool. Check one out, you know. I'm not telling you to drill into your 1964, mostly original, valuable guitar, but, you know, a lot of people have an Epiphone 335 that they put some nice pickups in and some nice pots maybe, or they have an Ibanez, or just an off-the-shelf Gibson, like a Gibson Memphis 335, or a USA, or whatever. It's pretty awesome having a Bigsby, I'm not gonna lie, and you know, having the ability to still play those it doesn't pull it out of tune like a Strat with a floating bridge, even though the Bigsby kind of floats. You can go up and down. It's just the nature of the way it's built. It doesn't mess up those kinds of bends. I'll see y'all later. Have a good one.